Welcome to Amberlea Church Online. We're glad you could join us. My name is David, and we just stumbled across a wild Amberlea summer team. Let's take a look.
God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son. Oh, hi, I'm Jessica. You should sign your kid up for Camp in a Box. Right now, it starts July 5th.
I'm Brianne, and you should join us on Tuesday nights for family night.
I'm Jordan, and you should join us for behind the scenes.
I'm Arlie. You should sign up for outdoor camp in August.
Wow, sounds like a fun summer. For any more details on everything Amberlea, check out the website www.amberleachurch.com and find out more.
This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
Welcome to part 2 of What's Your Story? Last time, we had the amazing opportunity to hear snippets of the faith stories of 9 courageous people. By hearing their stories, we were all reminded that God is at work in our life and has been from the very beginning. Our stories all look and sound a little bit different, but it is clear that God is the author. In pausing and reflecting on our own faith story, our faith is strengthened, and we can see that God has been with us the entire time. As we live our everyday lives, the people closest to us will see our faith lived out and will be witness to our legacy of faith. We are honored today to hear the personal faith story of Shelley Wedge. Shelley is the coordinator of our Exceptional Family Ministries here at Amberlea, where we desire to support exceptional families and provide a welcoming and safe environment for all children so that they can fully participate. Shelley is also a friend, a daughter, a wife, and a mom of 2. She is an amazing woman with an extraordinary story. May you be blessed and encouraged today as you bear witness to God at work in Shelley's story.
So, I'm here to record my testimony for Amberlea Presbyterian Church. This is something very foreign to me. I've never actually thought about this or put on paper with what I wanted to say ever. So this is like totally new, so we'll see how it goes. So I grew up in a Christian home. I had 2 loving parents, a brother. My father was a minister. And at that point in time when I was younger, I remember it being more difficult for ministers because we had to move around a lot. And usually the house we lived in was not our own house. So sometimes we would just, not that we moved a lot of places, but sometimes we would move and, we wouldn't get a choice into where we were going, or we wouldn't get to pick out the house we were getting because it was just a house that the church owned. When I was younger, it was hard to be, quote unquote, a minister's child. People were always like watching you in the church, outside of the church, seeing if you did, how you behaved, if you did things right, if you made mistakes. And I always found that really, really difficult because I always felt really under the microscope to be a good person and to do the right things. But unfortunately, I sometimes did get into trouble, much more so than my brother did. So when I was in my teenage years, I found myself like rebelling, not necessarily not believing in God, but just being really, really far away from God. I felt trapped in the church where we had to basically spend a good chunk of our time there. And I just felt, not that I was missing out on things, but I just felt that I wanted to do stuff to be cool and to be accepted by people. And it wasn't always cool to be a minister's daughter. One key point as I think back on my life is I always remember God being there, but it was when my dad got sick when I was 21 years old. He ended up getting liver cancer and passed away, maybe 3-4 months after he was diagnosed. So I remember going through that period of my life just praying to God, wanting him to heal my dad, and just like, he was such a good person, my dad, and I just didn't understand why it was happening, why the cancer was happening to him, and why he was so sick. I prayed day and night. I tried to do whatever I could to make amends with God at that point in time. And this really, really changed my life when he passed away. And I remember myself questioning, like, why did God do this to me? Why did he do this to my mom, who was only 50 years old? Why did he do that to our family? My dad helped so many people. So I remember at this point, it was really hard for me to stay close to God. I tried my best, but I didn't know how to pray then. I didn't know what I was praying for, because the thing that I wanted more than anything on earth was now gone. So I just felt lost. Another key point of my journey was I got married, not long after my dad passed away. I was 24. I was almost 22 when my dad died. I was 24 when I got married. And, this person was the love of my life. We were connected from high school, and we had so much in common. He was just amazing, or at least I thought he was amazing. Unfortunately, 7 years later, our marriage fell apart. I don't want to say it was all his fault, but looking back, could I have done anything different? I don't know. I was really, really young. I was young to be married. Being married, it was fun, but it was also difficult, and the difficulty isn't something that I kind of signed up for. I just felt, we had a lot of good times, but we had, some hard times too. His mom had passed away in the early couple of years of our marriage, and it just seemed like as he was trying to grow a business and I was trying to start a career, it just seemed like we were, not heading on the same path, at least as I look back now. There was also a lot of other issues that unfortunately caused our marriage to end. It wasn't really that we were growing apart, but there was just things that I couldn't change, things that he did. So then came the divorce, and then came the depression and the embarrassment and the shame that went on with that. I was so, I just didn't want to live anymore. I was so ashamed of failure. I didn't believe in divorce, so I was also ashamed of, failing God. And I just felt I grew into this deep, dark, depressive hole. And I could barely get out. I just fell deeper and deeper. I tried to work. I did work. I tried to keep my life together. But that first year after our divorce, I just completely, fell apart in so many ways. But good news is God did have a plan for my life. I don't want to say he relishes in difficulties, but this particular difficulty was almost more than I could bear. So I know that I had people praying for me, and I engaged in some activities that weren't very honoring to God at this point in time, because I didn't know how to cope. I had a few people, but people were asking me questions all the time. I felt that they were judging me, not really helping me. And I just felt really devastated and alone. And fast forward, one day I came home from work, and again I was feeling down, and then I got this piece of mail, and it was talking about some, dating. It wasn't an app then, because it was a long time ago, but it was like a dating site, I don't know, like company, I guess we'll call it. And on a whim, because I was feeling so alone, I filled this in and just mailed it back, because I thought, you know what, I really did enjoy being married. I really felt that it was God's calling for me to be married, to have a family. I really felt that I could be fulfilled in this way. So, God did bless me with meeting somebody, because that's where I met my husband, George. And he was, I won't get into all the intricacies of the way they did this dating thing back then, because it's a little complicated, but I met him, and he was the one that God, I guess, really, really wanted me to be with. The first thing I remember about meeting George was his kindness and his faith. We shared a lot of the similarities in his faith, and he actually brought me to be a stronger believer in my faith from sharing, parts of his faith with me. And I really, I felt such a connection to him, and I also thought, this is a person who would never, ever hurt me. I just felt he had some of the same qualities as my father had, and I just was really, really drawn to him in that way. And so from the first date to a year later, we were dating, got engaged, and got married all within 1 year. So, I mean, I really do believe that that was God's plan for, my soulmate. We are very similar in a lot of ways, but we are very different. So I feel that we do complement each other, and I'm so grateful to God that I met him. I appreciate him so much. He has brought so much to my life, and more importantly, he's kept my relationship. He helped me get back to what I really wanted my relationship to God to be like. Like I said, we're different. We don't do stuff in the same ways. We don't talk about things in the same way, but right at the core of us, our beliefs are the same, and we always have each other's back no matter what. So God did bless me with him. And then fast forward again to having children. Our kids, Jake and Magenta, have been just amazing addition to our family, to our life. But having children, as all of you know, doesn't come without its challenges. And another trial that we had to go through, first of all with Jake, was, first of all, my pregnancy was, he was born 10 weeks prematurely, and so there was a lot of things going on there. And then I remember, you know, as milestones weren't being met, things weren't happening. I remember going to this particular, I don't know if she was a neurologist or what her title was. I still remember her face and the way her office looked and the way she talked to Jake and the way she talked to me. And I remember her looking at a report that I had from the hospital from after Jake was born. It was like a brain scan, and I remember her just looking at us, quite frankly, and her saying, well, your son has autism. And I just like burst into tears because I was kind of like blindsided, like I didn't really know then. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to think. But that was a trial that was continuing for, I mean, still today. The difference is today, you know, I feel that purpose of Jake having autism has just like changed my life so significantly. It allowed me to meet people I never would have met before. It forced me to be more patient. It forced me not to be so rigid. It forced me into just really, really grasping what was really, really important in our life. And I cried out to God again, you know, like, why? Like, what happened? But again, it's part of God's plan for my life. Another milestone was along my faith journey was after my dad passed away, my mom, lo and behold, like, I don't know how many years later it was, probably like 4 or 5, maybe 5, she had met this other gentleman who ended up being my stepfather. And they were both the same age, and his first wife had died of cancer as well, and they had connected through a group, and they decided to get married. And I was like really, really happy for my mom because she had now found companionship again, and I felt good that she wasn't going to be alone. But I gotta be honest, it was really, really tough at the beginning. It was hard for me to watch another man move into my parents' house. It was hard at the cottage. It just like was so difficult for me to, at the beginning, to come to terms and to be okay with everything. But I did pray, and God helped me through that circumstance to ensure that this was a good thing for all of us. And He helped get me through some of those like crazy things that you think, like, I mean, just for example, like, well, I don't want my kids to call him Grandpa because Grandpa was, you know, the favored name for my dad, who unfortunately never, you know, got to be a grandpa. So just things like that you don't think about, but that were really sacred to me. So sometimes people would say, well, like, who cares? Like, why? And it's like, I just felt I would be betraying my father in some ways. So that was hard, but I did accept it, and I was very happy for both of them that they found love again in their life, because it allowed them to be able to do a lot of things that neither of them would have been able to do on their own. So for that, I was really grateful. And in hindsight, through God's plan, although I didn't have my own father to be a father figure, I ended up gaining a really great stepdad who ended up being such an inspiration to me and such a support to me, and actually helped me along my faith journey so much. So in hindsight, one was taken away, but then another one was given to me. So I felt really, really, thankful to God that had happened. So God did bless me again. Another trial that was really difficult, that again brought me closer to God, was when George got diagnosed with prostate cancer. And it was really hard because we didn't want to really tell a lot of people, because our kids were at that stage when they were going through a lot, and we didn't even tell our children at that point because, so we were trying to deal with it. And again, I was, at the beginning I started like freaking out and was crying and stuff. And I didn't know how. My mind went to like the worst case scenario. And then after things calmed down and he was able to get treatments and surgery and stuff, I realized that God again used this trial to help us be a stronger unit, to help us with our faith, to lean on Him and realize that we were not alone in this life. So that again has just shown God's faithfulness, allowed Him to work in our lives, because we really have no control. He's in control of everything. I can't wave a magic wand and make anything happen. I can pray, and God sometimes is going to answer my prayers, in a good way, and sometimes He's not going to answer them in the way that I expect. And I have learned to become accepting of that. So again, all of these challenges made me lean on Him even more. When I had my health crisis a couple of years ago, I feel that again, I was at the lowest point. I just felt so helpless. I felt so, I don't know what word to use. I just felt so distraught. I didn't know what to pray for. But I know that God saved me, and through the process, He gave me such a peace that I can't even describe to you. I cannot describe things that would have been, impossible to happen. Impossible. Medically, they cannot explain why I didn't have cancer. It can't be explained. So it's God. He's there. He did it, and that was a pivotal turning point in my walk with God, because I just felt in the past I'd had trials, but I just felt like my faith just went up 1,000%. That's the only way I can explain it. And again, it just makes me want to choose him every single day. I'm grateful every single day. Although I don't know what this life has for me, like I don't know what the next thing is, but I know that he's been there throughout all of my trials. I know that he's wrapped his arms around me and he's carried me when I couldn't walk. So even though I know in parts of my life along my journey that there was points when I turned away from God, he never turned away from me. He loved me no matter what I did, no matter what I said, no matter, the trials, the tears, the drama. He was there. He loves me. And as I continue to face challenges, as we all have them, I know that he's going to continue to strengthen my faith in him. I know I can pray to him for anything, and I know that he's going to be there for me, and I can lean on him. He's the one person who will always love me no matter what, and he's never going to leave me no matter what. He's proven it time and time again, and I'm going to continue my walk with God wherever it leads me. Whatever comes next, I'm going to continue, and I'm going to share my faith and grow stronger through him, because I know that I can do anything with his strength. That's all I got for now. I hope that this somehow resonates with you, and I hope that as you go through your journey with God, I hope that you never give up. I hope that you always look to him for guidance and support, and with God's people and the church and with friends and family, he has the power to do miracles. Thank you very much for listening.